Hi, this is Lori Johnson with Hancock Whitney Bank, and you're listening to Local Leaders, the podcast. Visit localleadersthepodcast.com for previous episodes or for information on appearing on the show.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Local Leaders, the podcast. We have a treat for y'all today, to say the least. We have a gentleman here that owns a business that we have never had the pleasure of really podcasting this type of business on Local Leaders. His name is David Gross, and he owns P&D Concealed Carry and Gun Shop. So first of all, welcome to Local Leaders.
Thank you. Thank you.
There is a lot of important information when it comes to conceal carry that people need to learn and know. And there's also a lot of important information regarding guns in general that people need to be aware of. So he's been very kind to come by today, and we're going to talk about all that, and we're going to tell you a little bit about David first. So David, you're not originally from Louisiana.
No, Jim, I'm originally from Indiana.
Indiana. There you go. The other Anna. A Hoosier.
Yes, sir.
Very good. And how did you end up in the Deep South?
So I spent 22 and a half years in the Army.
Go Army. Beat Navy.
Yes, sir. And this was my last assignment.
Yeah.
I was assigned as the Sergeant Major for at that time was the New Orleans Recruiting Battalion. And we covered all of Louisiana and had 2 recruiting stations in Mississippi.
Very good.
6 weeks after I get here, which I was assigned to New Orleans, and Hurricane Katrina hit.
Oh, good Lord.
So that was my
perfect timing.
Louisiana gift.
Yeah.
And so we evacuated.
Welcome to Louisiana, no doubt.
Well, that was just the first of many, but then the second, so we evacuated our battalion up to Fort Polk, and then a month later, Hurricane Rita chased us up there and hit us at Fort Polk. And then a year later, we decided to move our headquarters to Baton Rouge at the Neuromedical Center.
Okay.
And that's when I moved to Walker and been there ever since. So I had grandkids, and the Army wanted me to move, and I didn't want to leave my grandkids, so I decided to retire.
Very good. Well, sort of retire. Start a second life, really. Because you did. You retired, and thank you for your service. We love our servicemen around here. 22 and a half years, that's what you call commitment. And that speaks to me a lot about you personally. And so, look, that's important, especially when you're looking for instructors for concealed carry, in my opinion. But you're so much more than that. And we're going to kind of get into not only what you do with concealed carry, but also the other things that you offer with your gun shop. All of those important. I do want to shout out before we get started all the people that responded. I sent out, most of you or a lot of you are on my email list. If you're not, just shoot me a message. I'll add you to it. But every time I have a guest on, I send out a little email that says, hey, any questions you want me to ask them. Me and David set this up really fast. And so I was concerned with getting a lot of questions back in time. We actually had a ton of people respond to that. So thank you very much. I promise you, we're going to cover all y'all's questions today. Now, you're in Walker, and your shop is in Walker, and this is also where you teach your concealed carry classes?
Yes, sir. So my shop's in Walker. It's actually behind my house. It's a full-time shop, and my classroom for my classes is there, but my range is actually up in Pine Grove.
Very good. Very good. And we're going to get into why that range is so important and how that plays a part in you getting your concealed carry permit. I do want to pop the address out there real quick, which is 32290 Sasser Lane.
Yes, sir.
And they are open Monday through Friday from 9 to 5:30 and Saturday from 9 to 2.
Yes, sir. Very
good. So in great hours, so if you get off work at 4, you still got time to go by there and buy you some ammo or whatever. And they're open on Saturdays for those people that just can't make it by there during the week. Let's talk about concealed carry for a minute. And this is something in Louisiana that, technically Louisiana is an open carry state, folks. And maybe David, describe what open carry would mean.
So open carry means that the gun is visible.
Yeah.
It
like old West times, basically.
Right.
You could have a belt with bullets.
Yep. I've seen that. belt with bullets, bunch of speed loaders,
Yeah.
and all kind of crazy stuff. But open carry, yeah. So actually, everybody can see that you have a gun.
Right. And one of the questions that I've been asked in the past when it comes to concealed carry is, well, heck, if you're open carry, why do you need a concealed carry permit? Well, I think me and David are going to kind of cover some of those, and I'll throw one out there just off the bat, and that is, hey, guns make people nervous. And so when someone goes in Walmart, even though they have their full right is to carry that gun and open carry it, and hey, if that's you do you. I'm not criticizing, but a lot of people don't want that attention,
right,
on them.
When you're carrying a gun out in the open, you draw unnecessary attention to yourself. People just wonder why a person in civilian clothes is carrying a gun.
Yeah.
And then probably the worst part of that is if you're in an area where something bad's about to happen, and the bad guy sees that you're the only one there with a gun.
Yep.
Who do you think the first target's going to be?
Yep. And we in the podcast business call what you just did hitting the nail on the head. That's exactly right. You become the target.
Absolutely.
If someone is there to do something, pull some tomfoolery, for example, and you're standing there and you're the only one with a visible gun, you are the one they're going to shoot first. Yep. Because you just became the threat. Now, if that's concealed, they don't know you have it. You can still, protect the situation without anybody knowing you're the threat. I think that's a huge difference. So while yes, you can open carry, that is definitely a good argument for why you maybe shouldn't open carry if and why you should get a concealed carry permit. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. The action's always faster than reaction, and so the bad guy knows what he's going to do, and if he sees that you have a gun on your hip, if I'm the bad guy, I'm going to get you when you least expect it. I'm not going to wait for you to draw the gun. I'm going to get you when the gun's still in your holster.
That's right.
And so just remember, action's always faster than reaction.
That's right. I love that. I love that saying. And actually, one of my probably life creeds is I always want to be proactive and not reactive.
Right.
And in this society today, it seems like everybody reacts and nobody is proactive or limited. Very limited people are proactive. So love that. Now, let's talk about for our listeners out there that, hey, I pay attention to the news, or maybe they watch Real Life Real Crime Daily or listen to Real Life Real Crime Daily, and they realize that crime is an issue right now. Look, nationally, it's an issue. Locally, Louisiana, Baton Rouge.
Big issue.
Huge issue. Mm-hmm. You may be shocked to know, folks, we are now the highest crime state in the union. We are, Louisiana is as bad as it gets as far as crime. Now, there's 100 ways that me and David could argue why that is, but the fact is we're here. And the fact is, if you read the paper, you watch the news, you listen to Real Life Real Crime Daily, you may realize that people just don't have the respect for human life they used to. It sure seems like that. And we don't want to sound like two old guys on here, but we remember what it was like when, you didn't necessarily resort to guns. You had a disagreement and maybe you threw some fist or something, but you didn't pull out a gun. That's changed.
Yes, it has.
And because of those changes, it's probably, in my opinion, more important than ever to consider concealed carry option. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I think in any situation, your best course of action is avoidance.
Yeah.
If you can avoid a situation, by all means, that's what you need to do.
Yes.
But you need to be prepared for those situations when you can't avoid it.
That's right.
And so, that's why I carry a gun, is because I want to. If I get in a situation where I can't avoid it and I have to defend my life, or I have to defend the lives of those that I love, then I want to be able to do that.
Yeah. Woody Overton would call that "don't get caught slipping." He says, "I ain't gonna catch me slipping," and you really don't. But an issue with, and look, we're we're going to talk about females. We're going to talk about males here because there's a lot of males out there that aren't familiar with guns. Let's face it. Probably if you looked at it statistically, females are more likely not to be familiar maybe as an overall group. But look, I know some females, don't get me wrong, that they can work their way around a gun just fine. They got no problems there. Daddy taught them well.
And women are the fastest growing market when it comes to guns. Right
Absolutely.
Now. So more and more women buying guns, more and more women arming themselves,
That's
more and more women
thing.
getting involved in competitive shooting.
Yeah, really?
Yes.
Wow, that's interesting.
And it's usually pretty cool in my classes when I see a couple come and the husband acts like he's teaching the wife, but in reality, the wife ends up shooting better than the husband. So.
That would be my luck, and I would never hear the end of it. I can promise you. Very good. And so we're going to get into that. Look, one of the things with David in particular and P&D is their classes. What they offer really blew me away. And so we were just talking about women. And I think this is important that David offers a woman's new handgun owner class. And the specifics of this class, or what kind of sets it apart, is men ain't allowed. It's women only. So there's a lot of women out there, and I'm sure David kind of polled the community. And hey, one of the hesitations with maybe them as women is they're not comfortable with a bunch of guys there because it can be intimidating. The guys think they can, I've shot everything that walks or crawled at one point, and maybe the female's never picked up a gun and she doesn't want all that pressure. So you address that, and you have a woman's only new handgun class. Tell me about that.
It's a 2-hour class, Jim. Usually, or we do it on the third Thursday of every month, and from 6 to 8. The ladies come in, and we have a handful of guns. I have a gun store, as we mentioned, and so we bring a handful of guns into the classroom. We let them hold them, touch them, feel them, teach them how to rack the slide on semi-automatic, and then help them find a gun that best fits them, fits their hand, something that they're comfortable shooting.
Important part.
Very important.
Yes.
Oftentimes, ladies come in thinking that these little small 380s are what they want to carry because it's small, but in reality, those little small guns got a lot of kick to them.
Yeah.
If it's a bigger gun, it's going to have less recoil. The gun's going to absorb more recoil than your hand. If it's a small gun, there's no gun to absorb that recoil, so therefore the shooter has to absorb it.
Yeah.
And so
great point. Yeah.
A lot of times ladies would buy a gun, or someone will buy a gun for their spouse or significant other, and because they're a woman, choose a little small 380.
Yeah.
And we got plenty of 9mm that have more knockdown power and are going to absorb the recoil a whole lot better.
Yeah.
And still be small enough that a lady could conceal it on her body if she wanted to do that.
Very good. And look, y'all, this is something to consider. And I thought about this last night when I was preparing for this podcast. So I have 2 girls. They're going to college, LSU, actually in a couple of months. I'm worried. I'm worried because LSU as a campus, maybe you're somewhat safe, but it ain't too far. You got to venture off of that campus before Daddy gets real nervous about that. And I was thinking, should I put them in some of these classes? Because Daddy would never forgive himself if something, God forbid, were to happen to them and I didn't do everything I could to train them, or maybe, offer them some firearm training. At least I'll pay for it, or whatever I need to do to feel like I've done what I consider my part, quite honestly. That being said, it's also intimidating as a dad is that, do I really want my daughter running around with a gun? I think the answer is yeah. I think, it's sad that we live in a world like that, but I'd rather her have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So,
both of my daughters, and it's something I'm definitely looking into. So I say all that to say, if I know a lot of the listeners we're all, pretty much around the same age. you probably have some kids getting close to graduating from, or maybe they're in their first year or second year of college. Especially our females that, and I only say that because they're more likely maybe to get attacked for rape or something like that. Especially them, something you need to strongly consider, in my opinion. Mace is great to have if you don't have anything else, but these days, I mean, the attackers aren't attacking with knives anymore.
Right, and the thing about mace and any of that stuff, mace, knives, or any tasers, any of that stuff is better than nothing.
Sure.
But a lot of that stuff, you got to be real up close and personal with the attacker for it to be effective.
That's a great point.
And so, the most violent attacks take place at double arm's length distance and are completely over with in under 5 seconds. And so, when you talk about tasers and mace, you gotta be right there. And when it comes to mace or pepper spray, it's reactive to the wind. And you're probably not thinking that you got wind in your face as you go to spray your attacker. And now that comes back and hits you in the face. Now you got the double trouble of the attackers coming at you, and you've managed to spray yourself in the face with some pepper spray, or at least get a good whiff of it, that it's affecting you as well as the bad guy.
That's right. People don't realize just inhaling the mace, you don't have to get it in your eyes. Just inhaling that will cause you to choke pretty bad. So, there's some, like David said, it's better than nothing and all of that. But you really need to consider, with the way things are crime wise, and especially in our local area here, possibly doing one or all of these classes. Now, in the woman's new handgun owner's class, you're going to learn some things. You're going to learn situational awareness. Tell us about that. What would you consider that?
That's the biggest part of all of my classes. Actually, is focused on situational awareness, because the easiest way to avoid being a victim is just be aware of your surroundings. We live in a very distracted society, and most people are distracted by cell phones and modern electronics. And, just pull up to a Walmart or a shopping center one day and just people watch, and watch how many people walk through the parking lot and, run into cars or trip over things because their face is buried in a phone. The bad guy's looking for that person. The bad guy's not looking for that person that's paying attention to what's going on around him.
Right.
The bad guy's watching for that lady or that person that's walking through, that's distracted, got kids on one arm, bags on the other, and answering a cell phone or something like that, and just not paying attention to what's going on around them. Most of the time, they don't want to fight. They want that soft, easy target. Yeah. And so, just being aware of your surroundings. If something doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, it's probably not right.
Yeah.
And trust your gut.
A great point. We talked about, that you would size up, for lack of a better term, what type of gun may work for this particular individual, this particular lady. You cover ammo types, malfunctions. You cover firearm handling skills, obviously very important. Some of these people may have never picked up a firearm. I know some people, men and women, that are scared of them.
Right.
It's almost like they're scared it's going to go off if they pick it up. Defensive pistol fundamentals. Tell me about that.
So the Louisiana. Let me just back up here real quick, Jim. The Louisiana concealed carry class is what the state says that you have to have in order to get a concealed carry permit in the state of Louisiana.
Right.
But that class, while it focuses heavily on the law and how to operate a gun, we don't do a whole lot of shooting. The state says we have to shoot 36 rounds at a silhouette target, 12 rounds at 6 feet, 12 rounds at 10 feet, 12 rounds at 15 feet. And you're done for 5 years.
Yeah.
And so, in my opinion, that doesn't really prepare you to carry a gun all the time, much less use a gun in self-defense.
Yeah.
So this intermediate self-defense pistol course that we teach is a course that's probably 90% drawing from concealment. We'll shoot 400 to 500 rounds in about 4 hours, and none of it will be going up empty in a 15 to 20 round magazine. It's 3 to 5 round shots, and multiple drills over and over and over again until they not perfect it, but get pretty good at it.
Yeah. And it's interesting you have on there how to conduct an emergency reload. And I have a tactical shotgun here at work that Woody and I were looking at yesterday. I'm not going to use the term playing with. We were looking at it. But Woody was showing me some things they would do in SWAT. And one of the things he showed me was, when you're dealing with shotgun shells, it becomes muscle memory to just push additional shells in there as you're sweeping, as you're shooting, because you don't want to have to put that gun down and actually load it maybe a typical way. And he literally had this movement with his thumb that was almost it was almost like watching a dance. He just boom boom as he's walking, and he's bladed. And so I would imagine similar to that, it shows you in a situation how if you have to reload, you've unloaded the entire magazine, how to do that efficiently and quickly.
Right, how to do it quickly, how to get that gun. And, the reality when it comes to a handgun with these modern handguns, how much ammunition they hold, the reality that you'll have to reload because you ran out of ammunition is probably next to none.
Yeah.
The reality that you may have to reload because you have a malfunction is much higher.
Oh,
and even though our guns are pretty reliable, a good quality gun's very reliable, they're not 100% guaranteed to work. And so, when bad things happen, the old Murphy jumps in, and everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Right.
And so you need to prepare for that, and hopefully you never need to pull a gun on someone.
Yeah. That's
much less
the goal of the whole thing, right?
Absolutely.
You have a lot of knowledge that you never need to use, but if you're in a situation, it's there.
That's right.
And we talked a little bit off camera about muscle memory and how important that was. You also offer in that intermediate course, I do want to mention, drawing from concealment. Important.
Yes.
Because if you're concealing but you never can get to it, or you're fumbling. It may be too late. 5 seconds, the average interaction, you said. So you offer that as well?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
The a lot of indoor ranges out of liability risk, they don't allow you to draw from a holster and shoot. We have an outdoor range, and we do. And so, of course, I'm going to train you the proper way and walk you through it before I just have you start drawing. So I'm going to be comfortable, and any of my other instructors they're going to be comfortable that you can get that gun out without hurting yourself or somebody else and get it into the fight before we start loading up live ammo and having you pull a
no Barney Fife stuff going. You remember that? We're showing our age now, but that was the days. And let me tell you about some of the other classes as we're going along here. You have AR-15 fundamentals, which is probably an advanced class, I would imagine.
It's a basic course.
Okay.
A lot of people bought AR-15s, especially during 2020, during COVID and all that. We couldn't keep ARs in stock, and a lot of people bought them, bunch of ammo, took them home, put them in a safe, and they haven't moved since.
Yep.
And so AR-15 can be a good defensive weapon. And so our course is designed for that. We'll take about an hour to go over nomenclature, and this is all on the range as well, but we go over nomenclature, how to assemble your gun, functions check, everything that you need to know, and then we'll go to shooting it as well.
Yeah.
And while you got a 30-round magazine, again, we're going to shoot 2 to 4 round engagements, and at single targets, and then we'll go to multiple targets, and it's a really fun class. We shoot, again, about 500 rounds in that one. Both those and that defensive shooting fundamentals or that intermediate self-defense pistol, both of those are just fun classes to take, and I love teaching them. So
absolutely, and we'll get into this one. And look, we got a lot of real estate agents that listen to this podcast. Real estate agents are probably one of the riskiest jobs relative to your meeting complete strangers. You're showing them houses. So you're going in an enclosed environment where no one else is there typically. And safety and self-defense is very important. Sadly, there's crazy people in the world, right? And real estate agents know this. They have gotten smarter about partnering up with other real estate agents saying, hey, you want to go to this house with me? I'm showing it. But there are situations where that just can't happen. David saw a need here. And so you started a real estate safety and self-defense course. Tell us about that.
So that course is just like I said, Jim, you go into a house as a real estate agent with a prospective buyer, or to even go into a house and potentially list it. Once you walk through that door, and while this class is focused on real estate, it's really anybody that goes into other people's homes to do their job from day to day. From construction workers, but specifically real estate agents. A lot of these real estate agents are ladies.
Yeah.
And a lot of these ladies put their pictures on their business card, and a bad guy sees it and says, hey, she looks
she's
good.
Pretty.
And so the next thing you know, let's call her up and see some of her houses, get in the house, shut the door, and they can have their way with you. And so this course just teaches you how to be prepared for situations like that with or without a firearm.
Yeah.
Some people aren't comfortable carrying a gun on them all the time, but what can you do instead of that? What are some things that you can put in place? Staging things throughout the house, knowing where knives and things are in the kitchen drawers, and understand that not only can they be good weapons for you, but they can also be good weapons for your attacker.
Yeah.
And so, just being alert when you're in those areas that they can't pick those up and use them against you as well.
I think that's huge. And one of the few people that I see offering any sort of class like this, if you're a real estate agent, consider it. Look, you can't be, it's so reasonable. Your prices are top notch as far as you don't have to be Donald Trump or somebody to be able to afford this. All your classes are in less than $100 for that class.
Right.
That's fair.
Oh yeah,
That's fair. And look, it gets you out of a bind, and it would seem like it should have been $1 million.
Right.
I mean, that's fair right there. Now, there are some of you out there that maybe, I don't want to do all that in front of a bunch of people and embarrass myself, maybe you think, or whatever. Guess what? You can do private one-on-one instruction on some of this stuff. And you just reach out to David, and he'll figure out what you're looking for, what you're looking to learn. And just like a jiu-jitsu class or a karate class, he'll do private one-on-one classes if that makes you feel more comfortable and teach you anything you need to know. Let's get into concealed carry and permits and things like that real quick. We talked about kind of the need for it, the obvious need. Let's talk about some questions that some of my listeners had specifically. And the first on the list here is, what would disqualify you from getting a concealed carry?
So that's kind of a tough question to answer, but most certainly felonies.
Yeah.
Because if you're a convicted felon, you can't own a gun.
Yeah.
But there's other things that's really would be on a case-by-case basis. I could answer that, but
yeah.
There's
felony stands out.
Yeah, felonies.
If you're a felon, he probably can't.
Some things like DUIs, you have to have a 5-year wait since the last DUI. But most things, as long as it's listed and it's not a felony, won't stop you from getting a concealed handgun permit.
Yeah.
The most important thing is that you're honest with the state police and tell them your true background, because they already know.
Yeah, they're going to check it. Does the permit allow you to conceal carry outside of Louisiana?
Absolutely.
Great question.
So the Louisiana permit's recognized in 38 other states. So all 38 of those states allow you to use your permit and conceal in those states.
That's a lot of stuff, and I didn't realize that. That's good.
And the two closest to us are going to be New Mexico and Illinois. So none of our neighboring states don't honor our permit. The two that none of our neighboring states, all of our neighboring states honor the permit.
Yeah.
The two closest that don't are going to be New Mexico and Illinois.
Gotcha. So to answer that question, yes, you can conceal carry, and that permit would be fine, except for a limited number of states. But just go online. I'm sure you can pull that up, or David can give you a list when you take the class, I'm sure, of what those are. Now, how long does it take to actually get the permit?
So the permit process is a person has to take a class, which is what we teach. It's a 9-hour class that's mandated by the state. Once they take that class, we go through the application instructions with them in the class, show them what they need to do to get their permit. And then one of the things they need to do is fill out an application online.
Yep.
If they're a new applicant, they have to get fingerprinted.
Yep.
So I recommend they go to the state police headquarters in Baton Rouge, get fingerprinted, and then it's paying their fee for the state. And that fee is for a 5-year permit is $125 unless they're over the age of 65, and then it's half price or $62.50, or if they're a veteran, it's free. Once they pay that fee, usually most people will get their permit within 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Some people take a little bit longer,
Sure.
and for a variety of reasons, I don't know what they are, but if you do the application process like we stress, most people have their permits in 2 to 3 weeks.
Very good. And do you do that stuff prior to taking the class with you, or is that what you do after the class?
You do that after the class
After the
because
class.
you have to attach the certificate
Gotcha.
as part of the application.
Very good. So, and I'm glad David said that, because that to me sheds a light on he doesn't have any control. You know, some people for whatever reason may be concerned with, well, am I going to get approved or whatever? He doesn't have any control. He gives you the certificate you need to start and go through the approval process.
And I also have the rule book when it comes to concealed carry in Louisiana, and so I can look up if a person has a question, are they going to be eligible based on their past?
Yeah.
I can, if they're honest with me, I can look up and tell them, yes, you'll be okay, or no, you won't.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Speeding tickets, you're okay.
right. Yeah.
So don't forget about that. Well, I have a speeding ticket. Does the permit expire?
Yes, so we have 2 permits in Louisiana, actually. So we have a 5-year permit, which is obviously good for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then we have a lifetime permit. So the lifetime permit costs $500. It's good for a lifetime. However, you still have to take training every 5 years.
Yeah.
So all you do is you take training, send your certificate into the state, you're good to go.
Yeah.
If you're over 65, that lifetime permit's $250.
Yeah.
And if you're a veteran, it's also free.
Very good.
So that's the 2 different permits, but either one, you still have to take training every 5 years.
Gotcha. And we talked a little bit. One of my listeners asked about are there recommended guns, and we just talked about that with, there's a lot of considerations relative to your size, whether you're male or female. Can you handle the recoil?
How are you going to carry?
How are you going to carry? Let's talk about that for a second. So it's more than just a waistband.
Right. And there's a variety of different ways to carry. I recommend that you carry the gun somewhere on your body, preferably around your waistband somewhere so that you can get to it quickly.
Yeah.
Ankle holsters.
I know some boot guys.
Yeah. But when the bad guy's a foot from you, now you got to bend over and get that gun, pull up your pant leg.
Yeah.
Maybe not an ankle holster the best choice.
Right. Maybe that is second place.
Exactly.
That'll be your
Backup
second
gun.
option. Yeah.
I recommend the gun around your waist. If I could convince my wife to do that all the time, I'd be performing some miracles. But so if you're going to put it in a purse or a backpack or something like that, you just need to maintain possession of that.
And I do notice, David, that they have different options as far as holsters. Some of them are traditional holsters. Some of them I've even seen them with it's almost like a Velcro deal that you almost like a waist trainer, let's say.
Right.
and it has a little pocket, and you can put it there. I guess it's kind of each individual preference, but what do you like?
So I like appendix carry Kydex or plastic holsters.
Yeah.
Number one, whatever holster you use, it needs to be a holster that's going to protect that trigger. If you don't protect that trigger, you're just asking for a negligent discharge. So covering that trigger up with a good hard Kydex holster. Some people don't like that hard Kydex up against their body, so they get some softer sides. You have the belly bands, as you just mentioned, or they have these compression shirts where it has a pocket under the arm, where kind of like a shoulder holster. Yeah, all those are great options when the temperature's like it was yesterday and going to be today. Wearing a belly band and or a compression shirt, probably not a good option.
Probably not. Not in South Louisiana, that's for sure. And you just brought up another very good point. And look, just really quick, and David is going to get into all this with you in the class, but one of the things you're probably going to learn is the difference in guns relative to, so you have like, we'll take a Smith & Wesson and a Glock. A Smith & Wesson typically is a double action trigger, where a Glock is a single action. So what does that mean to people out there that have no idea about guns? Well, it's less of a sweep when you pull that Glock. It's going to fire just a little bit quicker it almost has to be an intentional, and I mean super intentional fire with a Smith & Wesson, because
with
it's
a revolver,
double.
absolutely.
Yeah. So those are things that you learn. Or certainly that you could ask David and he would have the answer to when you're deciding on what type of gun to get, because it matters. If you're someone and you have a lot of kids at your house and you're concerned with, well, if they pick it up, which one's going to be easier to fire? Well, obviously a single action is going to be probably more likely to go off when you don't want it to than a double action. It's where you have to really intend to pull that trigger. So those are things that you also learn in these classes, especially when he's kind of sizing you up for, what he thinks you might, brand wise, what you might be best for your situation. Do you offer private classes? We answered that one already. Is fingerprinting required? We covered that. What is the most important lesson, would you say, that you teach in your class?
Avoidance.
Yeah. Love it that you said that.
Imagine a gun class and we're teaching you to avoid a situation, but the only fight you're guaranteed to win is the one you're not in.
Amen. And y'all, it does not make you a wimp to avoid.
Absolutely not.
I had a Navy SEAL I was talking to one time, y'all, and I said, I'm intrigued with this, so I'm giving him situations, and I'm like, well, what if this happens? Or what if that happens? And he says, Run. Get out of there. Run. If I can run, and this is a Navy SEAL, y'all, he's trying to kill, right? If I can run, I'm running. Mm-hmm. I'm running. So, yeah, that's avoidance is always what you want top on your mind. I love it that you said that. Is it okay when you get a permit? Does it matter what gun you use with it, or do you have to commit to a certain gun?
So in Louisiana, number one, we don't register guns in Louisiana, and secondly, when you get a permit, it doesn't specify a particular gun. Yeah, I would recommend, out of a training standpoint, that you do carry the same gun or very similar guns, only because when it comes down to needing that gun, your body's going to resort to muscle memory. Yeah. And if you're constantly changing that gun out every day, today I have a revolver, tomorrow a semi-automatic, and I'm carrying them in different places. I'm not going to know where the gun's at. Yeah. And I'm not going to be quite confident on how to use that gun. I want a gun that I know is going to work, that I know where it's at, and that I know how to manipulate everything on it, that I'm confident in it. So I prefer to stick with the same gun, and then train with that gun as well. That's the most important thing, is that you train with that gun. Yeah. But I do know plenty of people that just like getting dressed in the morning, they go open up the safe and which gun am I going to carry today? So
yeah. Well, and and there's a lot of gun enthusiasts out there, and they have 600 guns, and you can't even carry that many with you. But and a lot of us are like that, especially in this area, where you're introduced to guns at a young age. Look, when my kids were very young, I showed them the guns that I had, and I said, if you ever want to see this, I'll show it to you.
Absolutely.
Don't ever go playing with this when I'm not around, and look, I have mine in safes and stuff, but I wanted my kids to not be scared of guns, and also not get curious of guns when I wasn't around. I told them, I'll pull it out, I'll show it to you, unloaded, obviously, but something very important about your overall business here from the education side is the education side. It doesn't matter how old you are. You're not too old to learn this stuff. You need it. Yep. It's important. I'm going to just give a quick rundown of the classes that you offer. Louisiana Conceal Carry class, obviously, which we've been talking about this whole time. Intermediate self-defense pistol class, emergency first aid fundamentals class. Bet y'all didn't know he offered that. He does. Woman's new handgun owner class. He does private one-on-ones, real estate safety classes, which we talked about, AR fundamentals, huge class as well. Look, y'all, all of these classes are unbelievably affordable, to say the least. All of them less than $150 or less. The private one-on-ones, those are the only ones he would have to quote on a case-by-case basis as far as that goes. Tell me about USCCA.
So before I cover that real quick, Jim,
Yep.
One that's not on here that I want to mention that's a new class that we offer is a
New
child gun safety class that's geared towards either children or adults, parents.
Yeah.
The reality is, in South Louisiana, everybody has guns.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yep.
It's a way of life. A lot of people have rifles and shotguns because they hunt. And so you can do the best job in the world of locking your guns up and making sure that your children don't get access to them. I firmly believe in eliminating the curiosity, especially with boys.
Yeah.
But the reality is they're going to go down the street. They're going to go to your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, or in a lot of cases to school, and they're going to get exposed to a gun. And so if you don't teach that child the right way and what to do if they get exposed to a gun, that's when dumb things happen with guns.
Yeah.
And so educating these children is so important, and then educating the parents on how to educate their children is equally as important.
Amen.
Just because you know how to handle a rifle or a shotgun doesn't mean that you know how to handle a pistol. And we see that a lot in my classes where someone they think that they're very proficient with a gun because they've shot rifles and shotguns their entire life, but haven't done a whole lot with a pistol. And
vice versa.
Right. And then have a very difficult time teaching a child about that because they don't know all the details themselves. So
yeah, I had a friend of mine call me one time, and he very, very efficient with a pistol. And never owned a shotgun. Gets a shotgun, and he's curious about loading it and stuff. Look, he's a guy, right? So he loads it. He chambers a shotgun, and he can't figure out how to unchamber
it. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So he calls me and he says, I got a problem. I said, what's that? He said, I just, chambered a shotgun shell, and I don't know how to eject it without shooting it. So I walked him through the process, so to speak, and he was able to do that. But he was in a panic because he had kids, and he was in a panic, and he's like, now I've got a chambered shotgun that I can't. But that's why you take classes like this. And I'm sure he was embarrassed as hell to even call me and mention that, but he did. And shout out to him for doing it, because that was better than, trying to unchamber it without knowing what you're doing and it accidentally go off, or, even worse than that. So Any of these classes that you're interested in, definitely reach out to David and get those done. I'm going to be doing some of these classes coming up that I want to do. One of the, and I'm not going to go into what they are because some of these, I don't want people to know my business on what I have, don't have. But but I'm going to be doing some of these classes, and some of them I already have. Yeah, there you go. Also, now we're going to go into another whole part of David's business that I bet a lot of people may or may not be familiar with, but is very exciting, and that is you have a full-service gun shop.
Yes, sir. We have a this started out, so a little history on the gun shop.
Yeah.
When I retired from the Army, I got a degree in gunsmithing and was doing that part-time on the side. I was hydro dipping and guns, which you have to have a FFL in order to gunsmith.
Yeah.
So I got an FFL, and then I started selling a little bit of guns on the side, just here and there to people I know. And then in 2017, the company I worked for just abruptly decided they were going to close. And so I said, well, I'm going to open a gun store, just a little hobby store to help supplement my shooting habit. And I teach concealed carry classes anyway, so, a little hobby store. Didn't plan on it to be very big. And then the next thing you know, COVID hit. And the governor shut our state down, and people were lined up down my driveway for months on end buying guns. We couldn't keep guns in stock.
Yeah.
And so the little hobby business kind of exploded in 2020, and it's still, we're a little bit off the beaten path, but we'll save you a lot of money, number one, and we don't have all the riffraff that you get from being in a big metropolitan area.
Yeah, the overhead's a lot more controllable, and when you can control overhead, you can control pricing, quite frankly. But so much to offer in this store. So obviously he sells the guns. He sells everything from AR-15s to Smith & Wesson 9mm to Judges. Are those hard to get still?
Yes. There's some guns just sold. I had one in stock and just sold it yesterday.
Yeah, for those of you that aren't familiar, that's basically like a pistol that shoots a shotgun shell.
Yes, sir. That's a
great
little hand cannon.
Yeah, great to have in your car if someone tries to carjack you. Let's put it that way. But very hard to get. Got more of a rare gun than what you would find with like an M&P's 9mm or something. One of the interesting things that you do is you do some people might call it painting the guns. What do you call it?
It's actually called Cerakote.
Yep.
Cerakote is a paint.
Yep.
It's a paint that'll protect your gun. I wouldn't recommend doing it to an heirloom.
Yeah.
But if it's how I got into this was when I used to hunt out in the swamp, had a brand new Beretta A300 shotgun, was out deer hunting on one very humid morning, and like we have every day in South Louisiana.
Yep.
And I come back to the deer camp, and my gun is covered in rust. And so when I came home, I decided that wasn't going to happen again. So I got into Duracoat at that time. Duracoated my gun, and Duracoat's another paint. Cerakote, I think, is a little more durable, a lot more durable. It's baked on finish instead of air dry. But
it's like a ceramic coating for a gun. Similar.
Yeah, but it's very flexible. So it doesn't crack or anything like that.
Yeah, almost rubberized.
Kind of, yep.
Yeah.
And but it will protect your gun. Now, when I come back from a hunting trip, my gun's covered in mud. I can just hose it off with a water hose and blow the water out and run a cleaner rod down the barrel, and it's ready to put in the safe. So,
ready to put in the safe. Love it. And you can really get into something like, let's say you were let's say you were a police officer and you wanted like the thin blue line around the gun, that kind of thing. Or maybe you're just a lover of the United States like I am, and you want red, white, and blue.
We've done U.S. flags. We've painted ladies. We do a lot of the teal or Tiffany blue, pink, purple.
Yeah.
Done some LSU guns. We've done. We can some of that Cerakote will replicate bluing.
Yeah.
It looks just like a bluing.
Oh, that's cool.
We've taken a gun, several guns that have come in. Hurricane Katrina, 18 years ago, and believe it or not, I still get guns in today that were in Hurricane Katrina that set underwater that are covered in rust. And if we can get the rust out of it and get it stopped rusting, and we can restore it. We just restored a old Remington 742 that looked amazing. That sat in floodwaters during Hurricane Katrina. Not only did we do the metal parts of the gun, but we also did the wood, and it just looks amazing.
I've got a crack barrel shotgun that I started with when I was a kid, and it went underwater in the flood.
Yep.
And it's rusted to heck and back. But I took some sandpaper and basically just wiped all that rust off the barrel part of it. I'm gonna bring it to you and let you see if there's anything you can do with that. I can. So that's something, y'all. Look, we flooded around here in 2016. All of us. Some of us got 6 feet. If you got some guns that went through that, and I know there's a lot of people out there that did, let him check it out. It might be something he can do with that to fix it for you. Can he get it back in firing condition? Maybe, maybe not. But maybe he can at least get it back in presentation condition if it's an heirloom.
And even get it back in firing condition, most of the parts are replaceable. So we can, if we can get the parts.
Like restoring a car.
Exactly. You got the barrel and the receiver. That's the biggest part of the gun. The guts, we can replace all that. So
Love it. Love it. So there you go. That's something we didn't even intend on talking about, but something out there that there's a big need for that in this parish. I can't tell you the amount of guys I know that their guns went underwater and they saved them, but they're not sure what to do with them. So there's your option right there. Knives. You carry knives. I know there's a lot of knife y'all be surprised the amount of knife enthusiasts there are. But there's some guys that love their knives.
Yes, there are.
You got all kinds of different options with that. Gerber's, which is an old reliable, let's say, and great knife. But you've got some interesting, I don't know what you would call them, but not switchblade knives because those are illegal. But
they're called out the front knives. So they're an automatic knife that has a button on the side. They're 100% legal in all 50 states. They're not a switchblade. It's called out the front.
Yep.
The brands we carry of those are either Cobra Tech or Infinity Tactical.
Yeah.
They look identical almost, but they're good quality knives. And the good thing is, should they come open in your pocket or when you don't want them to come open, as soon as it hits any resistance, it's going to stop.
Now, why are switchblades illegal?
I don't know.
Me neither. That never made sense to me because I'm like, okay, so guns are legal, which it should be, but a switchblade's not illegal. It doesn't make any sense, y'all. I don't understand that, but that's a whole other podcast. Maybe one day me and David will start another one. But you do carry that. You carry some, obviously, holsters, things like that. You carry
accessories,
ammo. You carry cases, even guitar cases that look, people don't want attention to. Maybe they're bringing a rifle in and out of their house or whatever. These look like guitar cases.
Yeah, it looks like guitar case. You can cut it out, and it's on wheels. So if it gets loaded down with some ammo and magazines and a rifle or something, or a bunch of pistols, whatever, you're right. People don't want you to know that they're carrying a gun. So you come.
I don't like carrying mine back and forth from my car and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't want anybody seeing that. Number one, I don't want to freak them out. Number two, I don't want them to know my business. But so I always, especially if it's a rifle, I almost wait to do that at night just because I don't want anybody knowing my business, to be honest with that. I feel like that's a great way to, hey, Jim plays guitar a lot. He's bringing that guitar everywhere
he goes.
everywhere he goes. So yeah, no doubt about it. So you do have that. Let me go over the hours on that. That's I think we mentioned that earlier. We're going to mention it again. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5:30, and Saturday 9 to 2. And I'm going to definitely go check that out. Look, we want to cover this. It's Father's Day this weekend. And so this part of the podcast, I'm actually going to put out there by itself. I'm going to do this today. And that way people can see what he has going on for Father's Day, because the rest of this podcast, y'all, won't be released until next Friday. So this is just a little snippet I'm doing for David. But we're going to cover some deals you got going on for Father's Day, because it's going to be this Sunday. You're hearing this on Friday. Free boxes of ammo with every handgun purchase. So you buy a handgun, he's got you on your box of ammo.
Get a box of ammo. And then for our knives and accessories, we got a 10% off all knives and accessories. There you go.
He's going to pay you tax for you, basically.
Yep.
Yes, indeed.
And then $25 off our concealed carry class. Our
great deal on an already great deal.
Right.
You know.
And our intermediate self-defense pistol, and then the AR-15 class, you get $25 off of those. If you register on our website, all you have to put in the coupon code of Dad's Day.
Yeah.
And it'll give you $25 off of those courses.
And let's shout out your website real quick.
I have actually two of them. So my concealed carry website is pdconcealedcarry.com. And then my gun sales is pdccstore.com. Google and all the other cyber people out there, they don't like guns too much, so I have to keep my gun and my concealed carry class separate.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, and very smart. And look, most people don't know what you just said, and that's right. You have to be real careful. Even us, with the other podcast I do, we have to do some innovative things to make sure that Google doesn't dumb us down to where nobody can find us, right, to say the least. So very good point. And look, anytime you're a first responder or a vet, 10% off right off the bat. So he supports those first responders and those vets in the military. That's very important. His social media, y'all, he has actually a great social media presence. A lot of people on his Facebook. So people are out there and they're figuring out that you have a heck of a business and they want to learn more about it. That's obvious. We've been going for 58 minutes, and look, me and David can talk about this stuff all day, y'all. But I know y'all got stuff to do. It's 58 minutes. Man. Yeah, I know. And we're just getting warmed up over here. But I really appreciate you coming by, answering the questions. We covered all the questions that these nice folks that watch my podcast had. Quick question off the subject. We didn't script this out ahead of time, but when you were, let's say, 12 years old, I kind of ask these every now and then, what was your dream job when you were 12?
I actually wanted to follow in my grandfather's footsteps and go into the military.
Interesting. So you did it.
Yeah.
You made it happen, brother.
I didn't do what I wanted to do in the military. I wanted to be a mechanic.
Yeah.
Because that's what my dad was a mechanic. But so when I joined the Army, when I went down to the MEPS, I was all excited to be a mechanic, and then I had to see a video of a tank jumping a ditch at about 45 miles an hour shooting, and that quickly changed my mind. So
that will do it. That will do it. I wanted to be a weatherman.
Really?
Of all things, yeah, I love the weather, man. Well, look, a good tornado coming my way. I was glued to the TV. Hurricanes. I was glued to. Still to this day. Of course, I don't want any of that to come this way, but it is almost like, oh man, I get excited. It's just the way I was built, I guess. But yeah, weatherman didn't work out for whatever reason. But I'm doing this, and I love this even more. But that's awesome that you were able to. You wanted to do it. You made it happen. Very good. Thank you for the business you opened. I think it's very important, y'all, that we support local family-owned businesses like what David's got going on at P&D Gun Shop. You got any questions? David, shout out you want them just message you, call you, if anybody had questions?
They can.
It's the best way to do it.
They can call us. Our phone number is 225-588-6130.
Okay.
Come by the shop. It's 32290 Sasser Lane in Walker. And look, don't let the little shop behind my house deceive you.
Yeah.
You come. Everybody that walks through the door for the first time is amazed at how much stuff we're able to cram into that little bitty space.
Oh yeah.
So we got about, I think, a little over 300 guns on hand right now.
Wow.
And but you can also email us at pdconcealedcarry@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or go on our Facebook page.
Very good. Yeah, definitely go on that Facebook. Give him a like. If you go in there, you pop in there in the next few weeks, tell them, or after you watch this podcast, which the full podcast will air next week, after this podcast airs, go in there and mention that you saw it on Local Leaders and let him know where you came from.
And I tell you what, Jim, if they come in and mention they heard it on Local Leaders, we'll give them 10% off.
Boom, 10% off for you folks. Just you Local Leaders, awesome people. So definitely mention it now because you can save money. And if you're like us, you'd like to save money where you can.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much again. Great business, man. You're doing great work. And I'm gonna definitely be by there. Probably more than you like me to be, or more than my wife will like me to be.
Hey, gun shop turns into like a barber shop.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So thank you again. All you listeners out there, I appreciate you. I appreciate you supporting us. And look, we have grown to levels that I'll never fully understand just from y'all's support. Check out the other things we do with Real Life Real Crime Daily, Bloody Angola. Check out Woody Everton's Real Life Real Crime. Look, Unspeakable with Kelly Jennings, all that. Those are great podcasts. But when you're looking for the best in family-owned businesses in the Livingston Parish area, right here at Local Leaders. That's all you got to do. We're going to give it to you every Friday. So until next time, I'm Jim Chapman reminding you, love your community, support local business, just like P&D Gun Shop. Keep leading. Thank you very much, David.
Thanks, Jim.